Girl say I take you to Tokyo. I go tell them say now you.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today's video was meant to just be me, but as you can see, Milan would not allow me to record in peace. So yes, she's just here propped onto my lap. Today's video is going to be my labor and delivery experience. I thought I might as well get that out of the way. I did try and pre-record this earlier, but I didn't like how it came out, so I wanted to redo this video. So yeah, I'm just going to basically let you know the events that led up into my labor. And as you can see by the title, I ended up having a C-section, which was the one thing that I swore throughout my whole pregnancy that I was not looking to do. But that's what ended up happening. So I'm just going to explain how we led up to that day and what happened and everything else. On the Wednesday before my due date, so I was due on the Monday, the Wednesday before my due date, I went for my final scan, because I had scans every 3 weeks for them to check her growth, check that everything's fine and everything else. So that week I had it in my head that, okay, that Wednesday I was going to go for my scan, you know, go get my hair done and then prep myself that weekend for my due date, like on the Monday. So before I went in for the scan, I was getting ready, and like my scan was at 3:30, I think it was. 1 something, I was like, okay, let me go have my shower, have my bath, get ready and go. Now, as I was about to get into the bath, oh my god, my foot slipped. So I slipped and I dropped, but I dropped forward. So I dropped forward on my stomach. And basically what happened was, it's like the mat that was always stuck down in the shower or in the bath or whatever, for some reason was not stuck down today. So as I was about to get in, I literally fell forward on my stomach. And the thing is, initially I never felt pain on my stomach. I felt it more like on my arm and on my knee, like where I hit, but I fell forward. So straight away, it's like I dropped back, I sat on the floor and I just started crying. I was thinking, why is it that, like, you know, 39 weeks, basically, like, you know, I've done my whole pregnancy, nothing's happened to me. Why is it the week before my due date this is coming to happen? And it's like, this kid is fully developed in my stomach. So if I drop, you know, God forbid, but am I gonna break her leg or break her arm? I was just so hysterical, started crying. I didn't know what to do. And at that same time, my brother called. So he called me and I was just crying on the phone to him. I was like, oh my god, I threw up, I don't know what to do. And he was like, oh, like, you know, keep calm, try not to worry. He asked me, are you bleeding? I said, no. He was like, are you in pain? And I was like, to be honest, I'm in pain, like, in my arm and my leg, but not like necessarily in my stomach. So he was like, oh, just go to your scan and just tell them everything that's happened. Like, just let them know when you get there. So I came off the phone to him, but I was still like not satisfied. I started crying even more. It's like I just couldn't believe what had happened. I was thinking, wow, like, and it was just me in the house. Like, I was just thinking, like, what do I actually do? Like, this is serious. So I called my mom and I was just crying on the phone to my mom. I was like, mom, I was dropped, I don't know what to do, blah, blah. She was kind of like panicking as well. Like, she was like, oh, but just go to your scan, let them know. So everyone's saying the same thing. I was like, cool, cool, cool. I got ready, and because I was in so much pain, like pain from my arm and my leg, it took me forever to get to the appointment. I got there late and I told him, I was like, listen, you know, I dropped in the shower, everything. But do you know what annoys me so much is that on that day, no one was really listening. Like, no one was really taking in what I was saying. The lady at the desk took my notes, she signed me and she was like, someone will come and see you soon. And I'm just thinking, sis, I dropped. Like, emergency. So I went to go sit down, I'm panicking, I'm there rocking back and forth, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, everything's fine. Like, I was paranoid at this point. When I got into the room, I had a Nigerian lady who was doing my scan, and I told this lady, I was thinking more like, you know, you're an auntie, like, you know, if I'm gonna tell you I've dropped or whatever, you're gonna look after your own, like, you know. But anyways, I told her I've dropped, you know, this, that and the other. This woman was looking like I was bothering her. She was really looking like, you know, just not bothered by the fact that, you know, I have dropped and there's a whole life inside of me. So she's doing her checks and stuff, and I'm like, oh, can you make sure everything's fine? Can you make sure that everything's good? And then she tried to give me like some cheeky response like, oh, this is my job, or like, well, it's my job, or something like that. I was, okay, whatever. So she did her checks, she did everything. She said what initially while she was doing the checks that, you know, everything's fine and the blood flow and everything's fine, and if there was a problem she would have seen it on the scan. Then she goes to do my notes now. She's like, I'm going to quickly do your notes and then give you your book back. As she's doing it, she's like, oh, there's something wrong. And I'm just thinking, this is what I was trying to tell you. Like, if there was something wrong, why would you reassure me whilst I'm lying down? And then when I get back up, that's when you're now telling me something different. And I was like, okay, what's wrong? And then she just went silent. So I'm sitting there in this room with this woman while she's doing my notes, and she's not trying to tell me what's wrong. So as she's doing it now, what she basically explained was that on my growth chart, or how my baby was growing, it got to a point, I think, you know, the week that I went for my scan, that she's not growing in the weight that they would want her to be, or like where she's supposed to be at that moment in time. So I asked her, okay, what does the baby weigh? Because the last time I went to the appointment, they said she was 6 pounds 13 ounces. This appointment I went to with this woman now, she's saying, oh, your baby's like 7 pounds something, like 7 pound whatever. And I'm thinking, isn't that a growth? Like, hasn't the baby grown? And they're trying to explain that, okay, there's a certain amount that my baby's meant to grow each time, and so the graph is meant to keep going up. But what has happened is that her growth was sort of static, so it grew, but not as much as they wanted it to. But at that moment in time, I was just thinking, you guys are really over-exaggerating. Like, you know, that little bit that she hasn't grown could be for any reason. But in my head, at that moment in time, I straight away thought, oh my gosh, it's because I dropped. Like, my baby has lost weight from this morning till now because I dropped. I was really paranoid, really, really upset. Long story short, the woman was like, okay, you're gonna have to go upstairs to the maternity assessment unit, and they're gonna have to like sort of check you in and do some checks on you. And from previous experience, because when I was 30 weeks, so like 9 weeks before that, I had like a little scare, like a labour scare, where I thought my baby was coming. I had to go to the maternity assessment unit. So I was there for hours. So when this woman mentioned maternity assessment unit again, I was thinking, oh my days, I'm having to go sit in this place again. And they take forever in that place. So I went upstairs, and they did my checks, you know, they do your urine sample. At first they look after you, yeah, and make you feel like, oh, you know, they're looking after you, quick. But no. They do your urine sample, then you sit down, then someone comes to call you and do your, like, your blood pressure, you sit down, then someone else comes to call you again, then they do like heart monitor, checking the baby's heartbeats, they give you like some sort of a pressing thing to press every time that you feel your baby's heartbeat. I did all of that. I went in there around, I say, just after 3 o'clock, so like 3:30 or about 4 o'clock I went in to the maternity assessment unit. Bearing in mind, I had a hair appointment at, I think it was about 6. So I'm thinking this is going to be quick and I can go do my hair, come back out. No. So I was there from 4 till 10 o'clock. And the whole time that I was there, they were being long. They were doing all sorts of checks, and they were going back and forth. And then when I thought I was done, they were like, no, we need a doctor to come and basically like sign you off or let you know if you can go home or not. So I'm sitting there waiting, and this doctor comes and she's like, you know, are you in pain, anything wrong? And I was like, to be honest, I'm not feeling any pain anymore. If anything, it's in my arm and my leg. But, you know, I just dropped, they've done their checks, everything's fine. When they did the heartbeat monitor, baby's heartbeat's good. They're happy with everything that they're seeing. So she's like, oh, okay, I just need to get you signed off by the senior doctor. So now I was getting paranoid, because I was thinking, why is everybody sort of like, you know, not trying to let me go and making sure everyone checks me before I go? So I was like, you know what, let me just stay and let them do their checks, because if I go home and something happens later, I know they'll look at my file and be like, well, we tried to keep it here, but she wanted to go home, so, you know, so I was like, fine. Let these people do what they need to do. So we're there now, and it got to about 10 o'clock at night. Finally the senior doctor comes and she's like, okay, so we've looked at everything, we've looked at your files, we've taken everything into consideration, but we need to let you know that you know, because of the static growth and because we're not necessarily happy with the growth, we need to do an induction. Like, we're going to induce you on Friday. So it's Wednesday now, and they're like, we're going to induce you on Friday. Straight away I just started crying, because thinking, oh my days, like, you know, my baby's not due till Monday, why are you not trying to induce me? I was scared. I was just like, oh my days. Started crying. The dude was like, no, don't cry, it's a good thing, it's a good what thing? Like, you come to take my baby out of my stomach without, you know, you're forcing on my labor. That's not a good thing. So I started crying. She was like, oh, you know, I was asking loads of questions, like, is it gonna hurt, you know, do I have to do it? You know, and they're like, oh, it'll be in your best interest, like, we want the baby to grow on the outside, and rather like not inside you anymore, whatever. And then we went home, and they basically said on Friday morning, call in at 8 AM in the morning, and we'll see if we have a bed for you. If so, like, you're gonna come in and be induced. So Friday, I was not gonna lie, I was stunting. By the way, yes, I didn't get to do my hair. I ended up having to go to one random hairdressers on the Thursday, like quick to try and get my hair done. And then even on the Thursday, it's like I had to sit there and mentally process the fact that, you know, I'm having a baby this weekend. Even though my due date was on a Monday, it was weird. It was like, because it was like before my due date, I just felt so paranoid. I just kind of like questioning myself, like, oh my God, am I ready? You know, this is scary, like. But yeah, so on a Friday, 8 AM, Samuel calls them. calls them and they're like, yeah, bring her in, you know, we've got a bed for her. I was shitting bricks, like literally went to the bathroom, got ready, and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is it. Put my hospital bag in the car, put the car seat in the car, and I was just thinking, oh my god, the next time I come home I could be with a whole child, like a whole human being. It was actually so crazy. And when we got there, we told them at the desk, you know, I'm here for an induction. They took my name. We got upstairs now, and what they did was like an initial check-in, if that makes sense. So I had like a bed, but it was more like a ward, and in that ward I think there was about 4 beds. So that's where the girls would go. You do your initial like checkout, they check the baby's heartbeat and stuff, check your blood pressure and all that, and then you get put to a ward or anything like that, like after that, and then they start the induction. So in that ward place, I was sitting there, and I'm not gonna lie, I got emotional. I started crying. I felt some type of way. Like, I just looked bare dry. Just bare dry. It'll start flashing.
Right, so you're in the hospital now?
It's bare close to my face.
Not really, but it's calm. Yeah. Yeah, so it's time, innit? You prepared?
No.
Got
I'm
some.
crying.
Got some.
The lady came, she checked my blood pressure, checked the baby's heartbeat, everything was fine, and then she explained the induction. So what she said was, when we induce you, we're gonna put like a long catheter, which is like a long tube, and at the end of that tube is gonna be a balloon, like a balloon at the end of that tube. And on that balloon, what that balloon is meant to do is meant to dilate you, so it's meant to open up your cervix to about 2.5 centimeters to start on your labor. And she was like, how they're gonna tape it, they'll tape it, end up taping it to my leg, and it'll actually take about 24 hours to like work. But when she took me upstairs to the delivery suite, and like obviously we looked around the delivery suite. The delivery suite was nice. It was a bed, and then it had like an ensuite you know, shower room and all sorts. So I was just like, okay. Took me to the delivery suite, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna like do a vaginal examination. So she's gonna like check me with her fingers and then see if anything's happening down there, if my waters are broken or if anything's happened already. When she checked me, she noticed that I was already 2 centimeters dilated. So she was like, oh, because you're already 2 centimeters dilated, we don't actually have to do the balloon catheter thing, because what that is meant to do is get you to 2 centimeters, and I'm already there. So I was gassed, I was happy, I was like, oh my god, maybe they don't have to induce me. You know, these winches that wanted to bring on my labor for no reason, like maybe I can actually go into labor by myself. So she was like, I'm gonna put you in a ward and then see how you go, like, in terms of my dilation, but they'll induce me later, so they'll probably like break my waters later and then put me on a drip. So that was Friday in the afternoon. I go into a ward now around, I'd say 4. Yeah, around 4. Someone came, you know, asked me what I wanted for dinner. I took my dinner order. Friday evening came, nothing happened, nobody came to call me. I was just there. They just kept coming back to do checks and doing heart monitor, checking the baby's heartbeat, you know, asking me more food, like what I want to eat and stuff like that. And Samuel was great, he also brought me food. I was just basically sitting in the hospital on a free bed, eating my life away, just chilling. But at this point I felt heavy, like my belly had dropped, baby was like down, her head was down every time they checked. But like I just felt so heavy and just so tired. Saturday came now, I'm just thinking, bro, like I'm still here, nothing's happened, no one came to call me that Friday night. You know, Saturday I'm there. A couple of the nurses came around to like, you know, apologise for the fact that no one's come to call me yet. She did explain that there was a lot of women going into labour that weekend, and like basically not enough like, midwives to be with everyone. And when they do an induction on you, they don't just sort of like leave you by yourself. They have you there so that like someone else, like one of the doctors can keep, the midwife, sorry, can keep popping in and out on you, checking on you, making sure that everything's fine whilst you're there. So I said, it's fine, do you know what I mean? I realised then that actually I want to have my baby on Sunday, because Sunday's date would have been, you know, like the 2nd of the 2nd, 2020. So I was like, if you're not going to force my labour, you're not even going to allow me to go into labour, then I should be able to choose what day I would do that. So I said, if anything, delay me till Sunday, because I'm not trying to have a baby earlier than that. The whole Saturday nothing happened. I just kept eating breakfast, lunch and dinner. I was just there chilling. And then literally when it hit midnight Sunday morning, someone came, like a woman came. They had already turned off all the lights in the ward, and I was just about to close my eyes and sleep. And then one of the midwives came and she was like, oh, you know, we're taking you in now. She walked in and she was like, it's time. I looked at her and I was like, time for what? And she was like, yeah, like it's time for you to go have a baby, like let's go. So she starts grabbing my stuff and I'm just thinking, shit, like, let me get prepared a little bit. Let me grab my stuff a little bit. This woman was already grabbing my stuff and she's like, yeah, we're going upstairs. We're going upstairs, taking you to the delivery suite. Yeah, let's go. I was like, rah. So I'm there walking. I'm feeling heavy as hell. I was kind of scared as well because I was thinking, what's the labour going to feel like? Like, what's the pain going to... Because me, I can't have period pain. Period pain alone is a lot. Like, it is a lot and a half for me. So I was just thinking, what is this gonna feel like? You know, I was shook. I won't lie, I was shook. I was scared. I was actually scared. So we went upstairs and then I was greeted by one of the midwives that I had already seen that weekend. Really, really nice girl. She was like, I'm gonna be, you know, like the one looking after you tonight. And that was basically at 12 AM. She was like, you know, I'm gonna break your waters and then I'm gonna put you on a drip. That's gonna like bring on your labor. But if you don't give birth on my shift, then you're most likely going to give birth on the next person's shift. But I'm going to obviously do your changeover. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Literally, I think before she did that, obviously she had to get like her stuff sorted out, her paperwork and all that. So I was back and forth on the, what's it called, the exercise ball, like rocking back and forth, rocking back and forth. I was honestly praying for my labour to just start. Like I kept saying to this baby, like, break the water, because really and truly I would have preferred for just to go into labour naturally, because I heard that when you get induced it's more painful, which I was later to experience. So yeah, the girl did all my checks and stuff, and then what she said was, I'm gonna break your water. I laid down, she tried to break my water, and basically what they do with that is, again, another vaginal examination. Then what they do is put another like tube inside you that has like a hook on the end. It's like a small sort of hook, and then that is to sort of break your sac around your baby. But what the lady told me was that it only like releases the water around the baby's head. The baby has still got water around their body and stuff like that, which keeps them all right for the whole time that you're in your labour. So she tried to break my water initially, which, oh my gosh, was so uncomfortable, because it's like, it's all these hands just propping inside you, very uncomfortable. So she tried, she couldn't do it, and she called another, like one of her like other midwife people to come and do it. That girl came in, literally 2 seconds, sat down, put her gloves on, she was like, pat, 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 yeah, your water's broken. I was like, oh shit then, okay. You know, it just manhandled me, it's fine, you know, it's cool. So that was that, water broke. I got up, I walked around for a bit, and then I felt funny, like I felt so funny, because I was thinking, this is weird, like I just feel weird. Went to lie back down, and then they put the heart monitor back on me, and then they put the drip in my hand. What the drip was meant to do was that every half an hour they would come and increase the dosage, and that would basically like bring on the contractions and everything else and start the whole labour process. So I'm lying there, and at first it was a walk in the park. I was taking gas in air, I'm breathing in, breathing out. It's jokes, you know, like it just felt so free. Time passed. I'll tell you, when it got to like 3 AM, 4 AM, I'm lying there now, and it just got intense. The pain got intense. I can never really describe the pain, but it literally felt like, oh my god, it felt like, you know, it just felt like there was pain coming from my left, my right, my back, my front. Like, it just felt so excruciating. And at first, I could breathe in and out with the gas in there, and it was fine, it was okay. But I think when it got to like 5 AM, I couldn't hack it. It was literally like the pains were coming out every 4 minutes. Maybe, to be honest, it felt like 4 minutes to me, but I don't know how frequent it was, but it was painful. And every time they checked my dilation, I wasn't dilating fast enough. So from when I was 2 centimeters on the Friday, on the Sunday early morning now, I was only like 4. And they were thinking like, no, why are you dilating like so slow? Like, it's really progressing really slow. They kept doing checks on me, bringing in like senior doctors to check and everything, and it just wasn't happening. It got to a point where my pains were so intense, like literally I couldn't even like sit on the bed. I was like hovering over the bed, like literally hanging there on my arms, grabbing the side of the bed. I was in so much pain, and I just started screaming for an epidural. And again, if you know me, throughout the whole pregnancy, I swore that I wouldn't take an epidural. I was going to do a natural birth and all sorts. And just when you get into that, in that frame of mind, or when you're there, you're just thinking, get me out of this pain. Like, anything to get me out of this pain, I'm taking it. I'm over it. Yes, I was just thinking, get me out of this pain. So I was screaming epidural, epidural, like, get me, give me the epidural. And Sammy was like, oh, are you sure? I don't think you should do it. You know, like, just try and go through the pain. And I was thinking, sir, it's not you that your bum feels like, you know, it's coming, closing into your stomach, and your stomach is now meeting your bum hole or on the journey. Like, the pain is just ridiculous. So I was just like, no, get me epidural. And I don't fully remember, but it seemed like it was quite quick for them to come and do it. And when they came, I had to basically sit up on the bed, on the side of the bed, and have a pillow in front of me and curve over the pillow so that they could like access my spine. And whilst they were about to give me the epidural, I had a contraction again. So I'm there screaming, I've got a contraction! And they're like, okay, we won't do it now, we'll wait till your contraction goes. And I'm just there screaming my head off thinking, oh my days, like, how painful. Luckily for me, like, it didn't, like, they stopped it just in time. So the lady took a break, waited for me to finish. As soon as my contraction finished, they gave me the epidural. You know, had to like tape some tubes to my back, tape all sorts, and then they put like like tape it to my shoulder, like, so it could come round. And then I had like a sort of clicking thing where I could increase my dosage of it whenever I felt like it was wearing off. So I stayed there. After the epidural, I went calm. Everything was calm. The whole room was calm. And I could finally get some sleep. Before that, I was thinking, how am I supposed to go through all these labour pains, not really dilating? And then when am I supposed to sleep? Because what energy am I going to have to even push at the end? So when I got the epidural, I was so calm. Everything was so fine. But the only, like, I would say downside is I couldn't feel any contractions. So literally, the midwife was telling me when I was having contractions because I was numb as hell. So they kept coming in to do more checks, and they came in, I think it was about 10 AM. I finally managed to sleep. They came in at 10 AM and they were like, oh, you're still like 4 centimeters, you're not really dilating, nothing's really happening. What the lady said was, okay, I'm gonna like come back again in 4 hours and see if anything's happened. She came back at 2, nothing's really happened. I think I was still about 4. And they checked to see the baby's head. And at that point, they were like, oh, she has so much hair. So that kept me going. And I was thinking, oh, like, I really want to see this baby now. Like, I've been pregnant for the longest. So then she came back at 4 and she was like, okay, we can see that at the moment there's a lot of pressure on the baby's head because it's like she's come down, but not fully. And she, at that point, she was also diagonal and she was face up. So it was like, breach in capital letters. Like, breach in capital letters. Because one, she's face up and she's like sort of diagonal or whatever, and they were just saying, you know, we're gonna give you a bit, like a little bit longer to see if anything changes, if she manages to move or if anything happens. So they kept like moving my bed up and down, putting me into like a seating position just to see if anything would happen, anything would change, but nothing was changing. And then after that, what happened was, after she did her checks, she's like, oh, she'll give a bit longer just to see if anything changes. It wasn't long after that my mum came in, and I completely forgot that one epidural was one thing that mum was screaming never to have. You know, she was just, mum was very clear on the fact that, you know, she's had 4 kids, natural birth and all sorts, so she doesn't want me to have no epidural or anything like that. So when she came in, I had my back towards the door. So when she came, she saw all the tubes and the wires, and all I heard from the door was, epidural, epidural, I told you not to have an epidural, you don't listen. I was thinking, who allowed this noise to come into this hospital? Like, you haven't even come to ask, how are you okay, what pain are you in? This woman came in ready to fight me, bro. I just turned around, I was like, can you take a seat, please? Can you actually just take a seat, please? So mom sat down now, she's in a mood, she's in a strop, she's sitting there, she's not in the mood. And then the senior doctor came back in again and she was like, you know, at the moment you're not dilating fast enough, nothing's really happening. So it looks like, you know, we might have to have a C-section. And straight away I just started crying again because I was thinking, why me? Like, what is going on? What is actually going on right now? What is happening? Everything that I said I didn't want is now like what I'm ended up having to do. So she came and she was like, but I'm going to give you a bit more time. Like, I'm not going to just force you into it, but, you know, we're going to see what's happening. She came back again, I think it was around like 5:45 or something. Nothing was happening, nothing had changed. And she made me sign some piece of paper. And that in itself felt like I was signing my life away. Like, I literally felt like, oh my days, I'm literally writing, you know, signing my life away. These people are going to kill me. Mom was not happy. She started crying. She was praying. She was just like, you know, God can change things. I was thinking they're about to take me into the fitting room. Like, she's just like, yeah, anything can happen. God can change things. She got them to give her a Bible. She opened up like Psalms or something. Made me put the Bible on my belly and told me to pray so that, you know, the baby can flip last minute and everything. So I was like, fine, let me just, you know, keep as positive as my mom's keeping at the moment. So cool. The woman came in, they got me dressed into the hospital robe, and then they got Samuel to wear his hospital clothes as well, because he would be like sitting in the room with me. So they came in, and because I've already got the epidural in me, it's like I didn't need to come and have anything else. They just sort of upped my dose so that I would be numbed even more and I wouldn't be able to feel anything. But nothing changed in that moment in time. They would me into the room. I went into theatre, and I went into theatre around like 6 p.m. in the evening on Sunday the 2nd. Went there, they basically sprayed some more like numbing stuff on me, asked me how I was feeling, if I could feel anything, I could, you know, they were just sort of just moving me around, shaking me around. But what I didn't know is that they had already started cutting me. So from like 6:05, I'm lying there, they're asking me questions, and as they're talking to me, someone's already like in my stomach doing layers upon layers of cutting, slicing my stomach. And scary enough, like, you know, I'm just lying there and I'm just thinking, God, I just pray that I don't feel anything. I don't want to feel any of this pain or nothing. Like, I'm just lying there and I didn't actually feel anything. And then it was around like 6:34. So after they did what they needed to do, 6:34, Milan was born. She came out screaming, like her mouth was wide open. She was not in the mood. And I could just tell that this kid did not want to come out. Like, that was not her day. Like, she was not trying to come out that Sunday. Like, from when she came out, you know, they obviously cut the umbilical cord, cleaned her up a bit, weighed her, and then they wrapped her up and gave it to me. But it's like, with that awkward position that I'm lying on the bed, I couldn't hold her properly. So it's really sad for me because I felt like I couldn't do that initial skin to skin from when she first came out. But they obviously like gave her to Samuel to hold, and he managed to even take her out of the theatre room to show my mum, like, because mum was still waiting around in the corridors and stuff. And then they sort of like glued my stomach back together, put stitches in me, but they were like invisible ones. And then by 7 o'clock, I was being wheeled off to recovery room. And when I got to recovery, that was calm. I was there. I was so drugged up that I literally couldn't feel anything. Like, I could not feel my legs. I couldn't feel nothing. And so that was that, basically. It wasn't what I planned. It wasn't what I wanted. But in the end, I thank God that, you know, my baby came out. I was healthy. She was healthy. You know, I stayed in recovery for about 4 hours. And then they took me down to a ward. And I just thank God so much, because even though I didn't want a C-section, I slightly feel like it had to happen for me to realize that it wasn't that deep. Like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And thank God, like, literally the day after, I was up and walking around, and I was able to take off like the plaster that they put on it, and I was able to shower, and I was just on my feet. Like, I wanted to leave that day, and they were like, no, I think you should stay an extra day. Like, you've only just had surgery, a major surgery, like 24 hours ago, so like stay for a bit and see how you get on. So I was in the hospital till Tuesday. So I went in on Friday, I left on Tuesday, and I thank God that I left with my baby girl. And now she's happy and healthy and chubby and, you know, sleeping. Yeah, so I just thank God so much. Everything kind of worked out in the end. And I was just really happy to come back home. My mom was here, my brothers were here. So yeah, guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, anything that you want to know,